Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. This is the first one of the year, and I saved it for my friend, Mr. David Olds. David, you
What's up? How
posted.
you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Posted, dude. You posted last year. I would say it was maybe a month or two ago in the Family Mastermind, talking about doing podcast swaps and things like that in January, and I said, "Let's go." So here you are, man. You're the first one.
It's fantastic. Well, you're just getting back to work now after the holidays.
I wasn't even working, man. I was just I'm just relaxing right now, but I'm getting back to work, I would say, if you call this work, doing a podcast. But
it's tough after the holidays to kind of get re-engaged a little bit. You know, sometimes it can be a struggle.
I think we all agreed that this was actually the start of the new year this week instead of last week. So that was just like the prequel. Like that was pretend.
That's it.
Yeah, last week didn't count.
And look, man, I spend more time in Venezuela now because that's where my office is. Over there, they don't start until like mid-month, like until the 15th or so. So
really?
Right now, most people in Venezuela are at the beach or in the mountains or like on some sort of vacations.
Really?
We don't do it because we work the U.S. schedule, right? So January 2nd, all my guys were back in the office, but most of my friends are actually at some place in the beach or in the mountains right now, not worrying about work.
Yeah, they work on a little different schedule down there, right?
Completely different. They got more holidays that you can think of. They find excuses to create holidays, which at the end of the day, man, I don't think that's that bad, because what's that culture, work, and kill yourself working for what? That hustle culture that we've been exposed to for the last few years, I don't like it personally.
I think there's a place for it in spurts, right? Like when you're trying to grow something or take your business to the next level. And this is a great place to start. I think you need that hustle, right? You've got to have that. It takes a lot of. We were talking about this yesterday. But it takes energy to push your business to that next level. But then you do need to kind of stabilize and relax and make sure everything is running good. And then you go for a little bit, and then you're like, okay, we want to do take our business to the next level. So that's when we kind of have that hustle spurt again.
Yeah, I think it's definitely seasonal. And I think to touch on what you're saying, we do feel like, I feel the season you're talking about as a culture. I feel like we're all starting to step back and say, maybe I'm not going to be a part of this hustling. You can feel it. It's almost, we were at an event last night and they were talking about it's going to be very social in the next few years. Yeah. And I think that's so accurate. We went from this time where we didn't have social contact for a few months and all of that. And then we all hustled and figured out how to do business. And then we're going to be ready to just enjoy time with our people and work hard, play harder, right? So you got to take those holidays. I'm with it. Invent more holidays. I want more time off,
By the way, I have to apologize because I didn't introduce you, Megan.
You did not.
Yeah, I just
in
said
my
David
world,
Olds.
I don't get introduced.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, first off, in my world, if I don't get introduced, the agreement with my husband is he has to buy me something nice. So, Ricardo, I'll send you my address.
All right. You got me there. That's a good one.
But yeah, my name is Megan Huggins. I am a business partner with David Olds in our title company, Easy Title and Escrow. I'm actually an investor myself. Me and my husbands. There's more than one now.
You can handle more than one, man.
No, one's enough.
Yes. Yeah. He honestly, he probably wishes there were more than one of him to handle me, I think is the actual issue. But yeah, we own rental properties together. We're private lenders. As of this week, our 2-year-old's also a private lender. Yeah. We touch a little bit of everything in real estate. We did flips. I've owned a sorority house.
And all that, and she's still underplaying it a lot. So, yeah. So
that's me being braggadocious. Actually, fun fact, David trained my husband. That's how we got here. So David trained my husband how to wholesale.
Yeah, we were partners
Yes.
for a long time. We bought a lot of properties together. Her husband Justin, good friend of mine, when he was in college, he was the kid that would always hang around and wanted to talk about investing until like 2 in the morning, standing out in the parking lot. And probably like you've had this experience where people always come to you, Ricardo, tell me about real estate. How can I get involved? And it's 1% of the people that actually go and take any of the advice you give. Well, Justin, her husband, was the one who did that and went out and did the driving for dollars, would say, hey, can I work and put out bandit signs? What can I do to, as a college kid to, get into this world? And, so proud of everything that they've accomplished. It's amazing. Not only they partnered in this title, or Megan's partnered in this title company, but her and Justin own Key Title, which is like the
Or-
best title company in Eastern Tennessee for like the last 5 years running. They keep getting voted. So
Yeah.
very investor based title company that I've used a ton of times. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very intertwined story we have.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So you married Justin, who used to be one of David's mentees. I would say that, and then business partner, right?
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. I would definitely say he was his mentee. Like I know
Mhm.
David doesn't like it, but like we credit David to a lot. He taught us a
Yeah.
lot. Wholesaling, that was a big thing. And Justin, like both of us came from not very much, and wholesaling gave us that step up to then invest in properties and all of that. So very much we credit David.
Well,
If you haven't ever been to any of his programs, you should check him out.
I actually have.
One thing about Justin, yeah, Justin Ricardo's been here to the office a bunch.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he came up for Dispo Exposed, and one other time I think you were here.
I was just driving by through Chattanooga, Tennessee, and decided to stop by and say hi.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think when you look at the success rate in entrepreneurs, it's pretty low, right?
Yes.
And I think it's because it's not that the information isn't out there. It's not that there's lack of guidance, because you could really truly can't find everything you want on YouTube. Now, it's a discombobulated mess of information.
Mm.
But one of the things I think that made Justin special and Megan is they took that information and actually went and did something with it, right? And so if you're watching this and you're trying to get started, or you want to really take your business like to that next level, is to find somebody that's doing the thing that you want to be doing, and then just copy it, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to recreate the wheel. I'm not saying it's going to be easy or it's it's going to be a cakewalk, but I mean, let's be honest, real estate investing is not that hard. It's not complicated. A third grader can understand it, right? We buy low, we sell high. But it's just going out and doing the steps, right? Our other partner Heather says if you do the thing works. And just so many people just don't take that action.
I love what you said about the 1% being able to make it, and the reason why I say, and you said something earlier, David, about being coachable, right? That Justin and Megan were actually
Yeah.
coachable into taking the
Yeah.
steps that they were supposed to do in order to become successful in real estate, or at least to learn how to do it, right? And I was having this conversation this morning with one of my mentees. He's got a couple of properties under contract, and I had given him specific instructions on how he's gonna go dispo that property. Guess what? He
Yeah.
didn't do any of them. And here I am, like,
No, it's crazy. Same
why can't you follow? Step one, go pull the list. Step
Yeah.
two, go do this. And step three, go do that. Right? And I'm like, this is not rocket science, guys. It's just a bunch of different steps you have to follow,
Yeah.
and you gotta put the action into it.
Yeah. So a couple things there. One, anybody can get rich in real estate. Again, it's not that complicated. You just have to go out and follow the steps. And you don't even need to know all of the steps. I just need to know the next couple of steps, right? And that was one thing Justin was great at. I'm like, I remember he wanted to buy a duplex.
Yes.
So he's like, what should I do? I'm like, I don't know. Go drive around, find some duplexes, write down the address, and we'll send them letters. So then he got addresses. He came back. I showed him how to write a letter. He went home and wrote letters and sent it to people. So it is just that following the next step. But yeah, I mean, so many people, and I forgot the second point I was going to make there, but so many people have come and asked how to do it, and like, here it is.
I think there's a lot of overcomplication too. Like there are coaches out here that like keep it simple. Here's what you need to do. And then there are coaches that like, here's step 1 of my program. Here's step 2 of my program. Here's 16 different types of contracts. Here's this. And it's unfortunate like that there is no like grading system for any of your mentorships around, but like I think exactly what David said earlier, find someone you want your life to look like. And then I think the other thing Justin's good at is like listening. Like he's very good at listening. I was going to say he shuts up and listens, but he doesn't do that. He listens, but he will not shut up. So he'll keep asking more and more questions. But yeah, and I think that acknowledging that you don't know everything. Like we do not know certain things. Like we had never wholesaled. So like listening to him, like when I bought my first house, when I closed on my first house, my realtor wasn't able to make it. So we called David and asked him to come because I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Thank God he did. They didn't want to assign us rents and they didn't want to like give us the or leases. They didn't want to assign us leases. And David's like, you have to walk away if they don't assign you the leases because you will not have rights to these tenants. And I don't know, find someone smarter than you, ask to hang out with them, pay them to mentor you, get in these coaching programs, but making sure you want your life. I like the whole, you want your life to look like their life.
Let me ask you a question, Megan. So in the world of real estate investing, what's your, I would say your main avenue right now?
So Justin actually went to law school and he is graduating in about 18 months. So right now we have started heavily in private money lending. It is the least amount of time and the least amount of headache, but to get to where we could private money lend, it took a lot of the real estate buying. And we did a lot of wholesaling. We haven't been wholesaling for a few years just because we did take on title and all of that, but we love private money lending. That's what we like right now.
I think what's fascinating about Justin and Megan's story is it started with wholesaling, right?
Yes.
And then they added they found lenders who wanted to invest with them. So that you bought rental properties. You've done some rehabs, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We did a bunch in 2020.
Yeah. So then rehabs on top of that. And then they decided to open the title company, which was amazing. Excuse me. So it's just all kind of layered on, one stage after another, but it all started with wholesaling.
Yeah. Wholesaling taught by David Olds.
Yeah.
And what are the like, so for the people that are listening out there, what are like the main things that you look at on someone that wants to borrow money from you?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that we start looking at is the project. Like if your project makes sense and we would be willing to do it ourselves, that's a good project for us because the reality is you hope it all works out. You hope nothing ever happens. But if I'm going to go foreclose on this, would I want to deal with it? So we get asked often like to be like cross country. Hey, will you lend to us in California? And we aren't going to fly to California to go foreclose on a property. We also are very cautious with foreclosure laws. So every state has different foreclosure laws and lenders' rights. So me and Justin are very clear on where we lend because we want the right to come take this pretty easily. So, in Georgia, there's like some attorneys and things involved and we have some great paperwork. So we look at a lot of that, but if a deal makes sense, it makes sense. It's the same way with like wholesaling, like the numbers are there or they're not. But I will say, the last kind of part we look at is my husband and I, we run our business on 3 pillars all the time. Integrity is always number one. And so if you do not have that, if that is not a part of it, we cannot work with you. So even if you were the best flipper in town, if you do not have a good reputation or we have learned that there's bad things out there, we will not work with you. So
of course,
good people, good houses, like good vibes out there. So yeah, that's what we look at.
Good. So, and what attracted you guys to the title business? Like, how do you like say, oh, let me go open a title company?
Great question.
Yeah, actually, you're the first person that's ever asked me that, like on a podcast. Of course, in our lives, they've asked us. So it was actually very ironic the way this all happened. My husband was wholesaling a lot to one buyer, and this buyer actually approached us and was like, hey, like, do you want to open a title company? And it was funny because we were sitting on an investment, like a pot that we were trying to figure out what to do with. And it was me. I was like pushing Justin. I was like, what about this duplex? What about this? And he kept saying no. And Justin does not like money sitting. So the fact that he would say no so often, I was like, something weird is happening. And I just kind of believe that was fate, like setting us up. So when he called Justin, he's like, hey, you are very like, I'm proud. Justin's very reputable in our town. Has a lot of honesty when he puts out his deals. And he's like, I want to work with you. And so we did. The exact amount he wanted to invest is the exact amount we had been sitting on, down to the dollar. So we decided to do it. Well, then I come from education. I was a teacher, and I was actually about to put in my resignation to work on my doctorate. I am all but dissertation. I have to still write my dissertation, so not quite there yet. But I told Justin, I was like, hey, I'd love to work on this business with you. I'll be your closing agent because I can talk to anyone. So they'll come in and I'll close their deals. It was supposed to be a really fun part-time gig for me. And what ended up happening is I learned how to do the licensing. I went and tested. I built the business from the ground up for the partner and my husband, and they never really touched it. And then the great thing about our company was the word of mouth of the investors was like, hey, they know what wholesaling is. You can wholesale here. Hey, they'll do sub twos. Hey, they'll do all of these types of deals. So naturally, without any marketing, we went from, our expectation was closing 12 files a month. That was going to make us profitable. And within 6 months, we were closing 60 files a month. And there was no longer a fun part-time job, but became my entire career. Yeah. And then I started getting people like David being like, come build me a title company. Come build me a title company. And fortunately for me, the only one I said yes to was David. So
well, it makes sense, right? Because yeah, go ahead, David.
Well, I was going to say, I get where you're going. One of the things that was so integral to their success was they always wanted to say yes first, right? Mm-hmm. How can we take care of you? How can we solve your problem? How can we get this deal closed? What things can we do? But if we can't do it, here's the solution. Because of course, there's other title companies in town that investors were using before Key Title came around. Mm-hmm. But, the best one was, we don't close deals for investors on Fridays. We don't close deals for investors at the end of the month. They put so many restrictions and tried to put investors in a box because they didn't want that investor business, right? And the one thing we all know is that, investors, while we are a pain in the ass, we suck. We are the worst business out there. We could do a whole podcast on why that's true, but we are the gift that keeps giving, mm-hmm. right? If you find a place that you like and they want to take care of you and give you good service, they will continue to come back over and over and over again. And not just on the wholesale deal, but on the rehab and the resale and all of those types of things. So it's a great foundation to build your business on. And that's what they really, excelled at.
So you guys, so when you said yes to David, then you guys came together. David had already easy REI closings, which I am the first witness on when he had that idea. And I told him, I said, David, you are out of your freaking mind if you want to go into the transactional coordinating business. I feel sorry for you is what I told him at the time, because that you're dealing with problems all the time. So 4 years later, here he is with hundreds and thousands of transactions closed already. It is his main business now, right? So
we did. We handled 3,600 transactions last year.
Wow, that's a lot. That's 300 plus a month.
I will say also, that's why I said yes. Was his transaction company, because so obviously I got to see them work in court, in tandem with the title company. And one thing that we always joke about with, we call them baby wholesalers, is, you get one podcast, it's find a title company and they'll do it all for you. And people believe that. People believe that I'm going to coordinate and keep your seller updated with, if you want to negotiate again. I can't do a lot of the things that you think I can do at title. And so working with his company, it was so nice to see that they trained these baby wholesalers to the point that we held their hands, really is what I should say. We started, if we had to kick a wholesaler because maybe they didn't understand, or maybe they had so many deals going on, it was causing issues where their buyers were getting upset, their sellers were getting upset, they were misscheduling, that we would say, hey, we love doing business with you, but to continue, you need a TC. Here's a great one. But you have to have someone else, because we can't be keeping up when your contracts are going out of date. It's not a title company's responsibility to keep up with your expiration dates. I'm going to say something that most people probably don't know. It's not up to the title company to check that your earnest money is in.
That's right.
Yes, we do take it in, but I'm not going through going, well, this contract came in and this earnest money is supposed to be in and it's not, and I'm going to email. That's not title's job. So now you have David's company that comes in and do that. And to be honest, they were annoying in the best way. I was like, these people will not leave us alone. And so when him and Heather approached me, at first they wanted to buy a title company, and I was like, that's stupid. Don't buy one. They're not worth it if you buy it, because you're buying the people. You're buying, and I was like, you're not doing anything like this company you're looking at. You're not this Atlanta title company that's owned by lawyers. That's not what you are. And so they actually brought me on to consult them, which quickly turned into
just come help us do this.
And I was like, all right, we're doing this.
Let's go on an adventure. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what do you call EZREI title, or like, how does that work, David? Like, how do you blend the two now?
Yeah. So, I mean, we are definitely branded as EZ, but two completely separate entities. And we really need to be at separate entities because there's so much licensing and things involved in the title business. But it's EZREI Closings is our transactions company, and EZ Title and Escrow is the title company. And right now we're currently licensed in Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Ohio, Texas, Arizona, or like in a week or something.
Yes, we're in we're in the part of getting with the underwriter with Arizona. So we'll be surprised, everyone. You're about to be in Arizona.
Yeah. So, and then, we'll add another handful of big states next year. And, the way that we identified the states to go into first was based off our own data, right? Where our hundreds of clients are actually closing their deals. And then, working in tandem with like Robert Wensley and seeing like where across the country, where are the hottest states? Well, of course, Texas is, number one, because you guys should be your own country down there. But there's just so much stuff going on. So that was a real big one for us to get licensed in.
Yeah.
So what
Texas
states
is
where are you guys right now? Like, what states are you currently operating?
So Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Ohio, Texas, basically Arizona. We're at the final stage there. Yeah. And then we've got a couple states that are on our list for Q1 and Q2 this year. Some of the next kind of round of big states.
Good deal. Now in this, let me ask you a question, and this is more technical, right? When it comes to like double closings and double closings and things like that. Let's say I want to double close a property with the buyer's funds. Does that depend on the state, or does that depend on the title company?
Absolutely. So both. Yeah. Absolutely. Great question. So I always like to explain it in like three ways. So the first question when someone comes to me and they're asking to do something crazy is this legal? Is this something I can legally do? And unfortunately, in some states, that's called a dry closing, it's illegal. Texas, I'm pretty sure being one of them. I'll have to verify with Morgan, but like I know Tennessee is. Tennessee, I cannot use the end buyer's funds to buy the first one. So I always ask them like, hey, is this legal?
No, in Texas,
the second question is...
In Texas, we can. It's just that not every title company does it.
Okay. Yeah, so that was like the next funnel down is, will your underwriter allow it? Because all of us also work for different underwriters. We're like State Farm, Geico, all of these. Like you choose who you insure with. For us in Texas, we're with Fidelity. So we have to say, hey, Fidelity, is this okay?
So Fidelity does it.
Well, we haven't had this actually happen yet with Fidelity in Texas yet.
I'm closing one right now with Fidelity, and I'm closing with the buyer's funds. It's a double close.
So then you have the last question is like, does the agent want to do it? So I'm licensed. I'm the agent, not in Texas. That is not, I cannot make a call, but it's just like I'm putting my stamp of approval of this is above board, and I am going to defend this in court if it happens. So you have as an agent, like my agents who work for me, they can tell me no. Like they don't have to, because if something went wrong, that's their license, just like a realtor's license, just like any kind of license you get, like you're on the hook for it.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing that I've definitely learned over the last 2 years is insurance. Title insurance is an insurance game, and it's all about risk. So I'm gonna give you just super broad numbers, right? But as a title company, you get most of your money from the title policy, right? First off, title's not as lucrative as you would think.
Not at all.
It's really not. But let's just say, Ricardo, you're closing on a house. Let's just use round numbers: $100,000 house and $1,000 policy, right? So, like our split with the underwriter, which could be First American, WFG, Fidelity,
Old Republic,
Old Republic,
Stewart.
Doma, whoever it is, right? Whoever that is. Let's say it's 80-20, right? So I will get 80% of that $1,000, right? But here's the thing: if we screw something up and you have a claim down the road, I also pay 80% of the claim.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it depends on too, like what's happened. If it's your negligence,
Mhm.
like if it's your negligence, you pay 100% of it.
Yeah.
Like if I decide to do something that Fidelity says I should not be doing, it really.
So that's why, when investors, and I've been guilty of this too, tell the title company, just force it through, just get it done, do whatever you got to do. Like you're literally asking somebody to put up all the money down the road if there's a title issue for the complete purchase price.
Yeah, like the $100,000. Like
it's
you're
not the
asking
1,000,
me
it's the 100.
to be liable for that amount
Mhm.
if this is wrong, which is often why sometimes we get to the point that we're like, hey, do you want an exception on your policy? Because I'll say yes, but I'm not going to protect you from, hey, you can only find 4 of the 5 heirs.
Yeah.
I know David said that we found a way to say yes. We did. I mean, I will do anything you want me to do, but it's probably going to end up being an exception. I will kid you not. There is this great example of we had a couple that they were divorced. Well, they told us originally they were divorced. They were not. She had been deported. She was in a Asian country, and the guy buying it wanted to buy 50% interest in the property, and he wanted a title policy. And I was like, explain to him, yes, I can give you a title policy. You can pay the $1,000 for this, but I am only going to protect that 50% of the property that you are buying. Without her signature, you only own 50% of this, and that's what I'm insuring. Which really, like at that point, you probably could have gone without a title policy, and that's what we kind of told him. But some people like title policies regardless. And if you're going to go get a private lender, you're going to go do that. Sometimes they want to see these title policies, even with exceptions on them. So find a way to say yes.
I don't understand why he wants a title policy on 50% of the property.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
You would be shocked with some of these policies. I've written policies that I'm not protecting against the land. I'm not protecting against who's owned. I'm like protecting that you sent in your funds. That's what I'm protecting against. But I believe in title insurance. Absolutely believe in title insurance. If you saw how many just plain Jane properties came through that have issues that we work on that no one even really knows, 80% of properties have issues that you don't see.
Right.
But if you're at the part where you're going to go be spending legal fees anyways, don't get a title policy. Go do a suit for quiet title. Like if you spend $1,000 when down the road you're about to spend $10,000 to do that, forget the title policy. Just buy it. Honestly, take it on a quit claim deed if that's what your state allows, and go suit for quiet title. Yeah. Also get a discount on that property because it's not worth half of what you think it is now. So
all of these things are why 50% of deals don't close, right? Because as investors, we go out there and we search for the crazy, right? We list stack and we get that divorce and probate.
I don't do any of that, man. I love free and clear, brother. I don't do what you and Charles and most of my friends are stacking lists. That's not me, man. When I find one, that one is closing.
No, bro, I'm the biggest free and clear advocate there is. I think it's 40% of the properties in the United States are owned free and clear. Go target those.
Yeah.
Now, I love this topic because not a lot of people talk about title issues and things of that nature, right?
It's not sexy. It's
boring. Actually, we get told all the time it's boring, that people don't want to talk about it. Yeah. And so we appreciate you wanting to talk about it.
No, but look, as a real estate investor, you have to know these things. Like the boring stuff, it's literally can break you. I remember I wholesaled the property to a friend of mine. His name is Tony. Shout out to Tony.
Is it Tony Mott?
No, not Tony Mott. No, he's a very low key guy here in Houston. Doesn't go on podcasts. He was one of my mentees actually. and he's
Yeah.
a multimillionaire today with properties that he bought. I would say 90% of the properties he got them from me. But I sold him a house from another friend, Wilson, who is a very active investor. Well, Wilson owner financed this property to somebody that was doing a new construction, and he went and foreclosed on this person, and then went and sold the property to me, which I then assigned to Tony.
Yeah.
Well, the previous owner sued both Tony and Wilson because he said that was the property was his. That that the property the proper foreclosure didn't go through. And that deal got tangled up after Tony closed on it with a private money loan, actually from a private money lender. He held it for almost 5 years. And he didn't even put a dime in it. He was like, I'm not gonna put a dime on that property because I don't know if it's gonna be mine or not. Now he sued the title company, which, by the way, it's one of my some of my best friends too. In that, I'm not gonna mention any names, but they pretty much washed their hands. They said, no, this is there's no title claim here to do, and things transferred correctly. He had to go get an attorney. He spent a lot of money with that attorney. Um, but sometimes those get really ugly and very expensive.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you don't know, like in this case, Tony was an experienced investor, so was Wilson. They both got tangled up. I don't know at the end of the day how it got cleared, because it got cleared like 4 years later. Maybe there was a settlement from one to the other. Who knows?
Somebody got paid to sign a quick claim deed and just bounce off the property.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing, David. Here in Texas, most of the title companies that I've worked with, they don't like quick claim deeds.
No, Texas is an anti-quick claim deed state.
Like, I remember I put a property under contract, actually multiple properties under contract that they got through a quick claim deed. And every time I took the contract to a title company was like, nope, we gotta go and make the previous owner sign a special warranty deed or whatever. So we had to go fix titles, like sometimes 2 or 3 people, owners behind.
Yeah.
And that delays the deal like big time, right? Like, because that's not quick. Sometimes people are dead and they're no longer in the country. Why is that? Like, how come there's some states that are good with quick claims and there are some other ones that are not?
That is a really great question. It's kind of like insurance in general across the states. What they find is when you have an area that you get hit hard, they'll start regulating it more, right? So in Florida, flood insurance is super expensive. In North Carolina next year, flood insurance is going to go up, right? You get hit somewhere and it's going to be hard. Texas, because it's so big, it's its own, like, I'm not even kidding when I tell you Texas and California, they are their own type of insurance. So you can't apply any Texas rules to anywhere else, and you can't apply any other rules into Texas, to the point that in 49 states, we use one settlement statement, Texas being the only one that has its own one. So it's just, they decided as the Department of Insurance, hey, quick claims are legal, totally legal to do them, but they're not insurable. Right. So they're not willing to say, like, I'm going to put my name behind that. And the way, like, I kind of explain that to new people who start in title, it's like, hey, you can go pick up any rusty old car off of a lot, can be dinged up, barely turns over, but like State Farm probably isn't going to insure it if they don't want, if they don't want to, they're not going to do it. And that's what these underwriters can say. They can say, absolutely not. That's too risky. And I will say this, with fraud on the rise, quick claim deeds are going to be a red flag in every state in a few years. Yeah. So, because they're really easy to forge, unfortunately. Public record, notaries, things like that. So that's your risk with quick claim deeds, is you don't have to have a title company involved with them.
Wow. Hey, shout out to Miguel Maverick Diaz from San Antonio, who's tuning in and saying hi to David and now you, Megan. Now that you're becoming famous with
Yeah,
Mr. David Olds. Also,
yeah. She's
Ruben
great.
Mata.
I'd like to bring her on. She makes me seem smart.
You know what? You're
That's
doing it
funny because
right,
in our
brother.
office, I bullied him.
You're doing it right. You partner up with the right person, I believe. You know, not only she's an investor, but she also understands the business and he's in understands the title business very well. So
Oh, yeah.
I know that those questions that I'm asking are probably for some people are weird, but that's what's
Yeah.
happened with when you've been in the business for a very long time. You know that you encounter weird things.
Yeah. Right. And I know, we talked and joked earlier that title and transactions aren't really sexy and fun to talk about, but they're so important, right? All of
Yes.
the work that you do in your business as an investor leads up to this. Like this is the end of the yellow brick road,
Hmm.
right? All the money that you spent on mentoring and courses and going to great events like, the
Like
real estate entrepreneurs.
I'm the one that signs your check.
Yeah.
I'm the one that funds your wire.
Yeah.
I am the one that does it. And I love that you're interested because I do think that if more investors would slow down to understand, like listen to understand why their deals aren't working, like they would have more success. I'll never forget at the very beginning when I came over here, David gets this call and it's this deal falling apart. Oh, they can't get the right people to sign all of this. This investor is blowing up. And David's like, come here, what can we do? And I'm like, can you get it on a quit claim deed for like a fourth of the price and then take the savings and go do a suit for quiet title? And that's exactly what they did. And they ended up with the property. And it's really because they were listening to this, like between David and I, we were actually working from like past experiences. Like if you listen to understand, not only does it make your deals flow easier, but it makes your negotiations for your next deals. You have the knowledge to say, hey, you're saying you inherited this property and you have no idea where the rest of your siblings are. Let's go ahead and start this conversation. This is not going to be clear title.
Yeah.
So you think this is worth 40? This is worth 4.
Yeah.
Like this is this comfortable? Because otherwise we can be done. And I think you become a better wholesaler. You become a better investor once you have this background knowledge because I know how much time and money it's going to take me to fix a problem.
Well, most of the properties that I've encountered personally that had title issues that were not easy to clear. For instance, let's say a property had a memo on it, and in Texas, those are good for 4 years. And whoever placed the memo wasn't willing to let it go. Um, I bought that property with credit financing, and I could care less about title insurance because I know in 4 years that memo is gone. Right. I've also used that to my advantage.
Mhm.
Hey man, your property's got STDs, brother. I can't buy it for the price you want.
Yeah, and you should, negotiate that because our job as a wholesaler is to solve problems. So, and that's where we bring value, right? So if, what is it going to cost for me to come in and solve this problem because nobody else can do it. A realtor is not going to be able to do it. And even amongst, 50 wholesalers, probably 3 of them can actually do this deal and figure out how to navigate through it. So, it's so crucial to understand this, or at least have somebody on your team, like one of our coordinators, that can help you do it. Because again, like everything leads to this, all the marketing and the education and the CRMs and the acquisitions and the dispositions and the dispo marketing. Like none of that matters if you can't get the deal over the finish line.
I know there's no one on TikTok selling classes about title, but I promise it's important. But actually, Ricardo, I was going to say exactly what you're saying. That's why you're a better investor. The fact that a memo falls off in 4 years, like you weren't scared to say, yeah, I'll take this. But you know that a baby wholesaler who maybe decided this is the first purchase they're going to make, I'm going to buy this. And they're like, oh, there's a memo. Ooh, I'm going to step away. You're smart enough that you were like, I'm going to hold this for more than 4
Send
years.
me all the memos you want. I'll take them all. Like especially because a memo can be released with a lawsuit. That's simple. Like there are multiple ways to get them released. And by the way, all the ones I bought with memos, I never sue them. I just wait for the time because I never bought those properties to sell them right away. Unless I'm doing some owner financing wrap or something like that, which I'm not even doing anymore. But understanding what can go on Schedule B, or at least in Texas, I don't know what they call it in other states. that you can carry on, that's going to allow you to negotiate a better deal for yourself on that particular property. Just like you're saying, that property that you can buy for a fourth of the price because, you can only buy maybe 2/3 or whatever on the property. At the end of the day, if you're a real estate investor and you're playing the long game, you want to keep those for a very long time.
Sure.
And buying time is the best thing that you can do to clear title.
That's right.
Also, Ricardo just said, I know you don't even know what this is. Schedule B. Did you know?
I don't know.
I know, which is so funny because first off, I knew I liked you. I just knew. He's talking about a commitment, a title commitment, Ricardo. Chef's kiss that you just pulled that out. He is talking about the exceptions page. And you're actually right. In Texas, like it's on a different page, but exactly what you're saying is when you run through title, they give you a list of everything that you would have to do. It's called your requirements page. In Texas, you get a Schedule B.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we hand over to David's TCs. The fact that you know about that is incredible, but I'm going to be honest, most investors don't know what that is. And the good thing is you don't have to know what it is if you have the right people working for you.
Yeah.
Right.
You've obviously learned, you have figured out, that's incredible. But if you, like the thing I tell people about title all the time is you have to have experience. There is no course to teach you everything because it's like a snowflake. It's going to be different every time you're facing the situation. But that's what the advantage is. Sorry, I'm going to do a shameless plug for Easy REI is because these people have seen a million different situations. So it's funny because they're shouting out things in the office. They'll be like, hey, one of his TCs was drawing out like a family tree of aunts and uncles and all of this to be like, okay, so what I understand is basically the person who signed the contract has 1/4 interest, but on my requirements page, I need this, this, and this. And she was impressing me. And I was like, this is why I wanted to work with David's company is because because they see 3,000 deals and none of them are nice. I wouldn't say none of them. We get a few that are nice along the way that they have this experience of like, what exceptions mean? Can we tell the investor that like, hey, you can take this as an exception in a few years, it'll fall off? Or can we say, don't do a title policy, go get a suit for quiet title? It's perfect. It's a perfect pairing if you do not want to take on learning all of that title knowledge.
Well, what about novations? Are you guys being able to do novations all over or?
Yeah, so it kind of depends. Again, on the states right now, I think the only ones and we're not in South Carolina, I think the only things that like the discussion is if they're allowed in South Carolina with the regulations they're pushing out. But right now, every other state is saying yes. So novations we are good with as long as your attorney of fact is for like putting it on the market. Like your seller is going to have to come sign documents. You're not going to find title companies that are going to let a wholesaler come sign documents for the seller with a POA or an attorney in fact.
No. So yeah, if you have good paperwork and you're learning from somebody like Rich Wonder or Corey Geary or some of the other more reputable people. Novations are great on the transaction side. 40% of the deals that we did last year were novations. We do a lot of novations. In fact, our TCs on this would rather do a novation than a wholesale deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the future is heading, like towards bypassing the middle investor. I would say the fix and flipper or. Most people are going towards the end of the food chain, the end buyer. Now there are some properties that won't be able to qualify for something like that, but that's where I see most of my friends going. It's towards novations or towards some sort of let me go and list it on the MLS because I can get more money for it.
Sure. Yeah. As long as it's a financeable property, that's definitely the best option. As long as, the seller is going to be cool with, giving you the time and allowing you access to do it. There's always still going to be those properties that are just a disaster or somebody really needs a fast close. So that's where it's really important for investors to have multiple exit strategies, like different tool belt for kind of every situation, and not trying to shoehorn sub two into every single deal, right? Or wholesale into every deal, or novation into every deal. So, and that's just getting great education, going to good events like yours, and understanding that, again, our job as an investor is to show up and help the seller, not make the situation worse. And based off of what their situation is, how can we apply all the different tools that we have in our toolbox to to solve their problem.
I love novations too, because I think they're so clear. Like the seller knows this is exactly what I'm walking away from with. Like, this is it. And I like the buyers know exactly what they're paying. Like, those two things are so clear to everybody. And so I like novations for those who maybe like, wholesaling is not something to be ashamed of. I think it's a service just like anything else. But some people get a little like, I don't want them to know, and that's okay. Like, if you don't want them to know, we can't lie. It's going to be on the settlement statement. It's going to be on the deed, like what's showing who's buying it. But if you're not going to mention it to your seller, that's totally fine. But like, I think novations like kind of take that away, because everyone's agreed. It's all on contract. We're all together. We see what it is. So
And it's
I
full
also like that.
disclosures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So a lot of the wholesalers are not disclosing a lot of things, like that they're assigning the contracts, or that they're not the actual buyer. Maybe they're
And that's you're getting into very murky water, because the whole idea behind an assignment of contract is obviously clearly we're assigning the contract. But if I go to a seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller and Mrs. Seller, I'm not really going to be the buyer, but I'm going to contract this and I'm going to go find you a buyer. Well, now we've crossed the line into brokering.
Yeah.
Right. So now we've said words that put us at risk. So does it feel icky doing it the other way? I don't know, man. Like, do you feel good about the numbers and you're contracting at the right price and you can find a buyer? Then it is a little bit of a gray area, right? But, for the people who say you should tell every seller that you're wholesaling the deal, like, that is going to come back to bite you. Like, sooner or later, you're going to get a big packet from the state real estate commission. Like, I've gotten that packet. It's not fun and it's expensive to defend. So, we go into it with at least with the intention of, hey, if I'm not going to be the buyer, I may have, another funding partner that can close on this.
Yeah.
And
this deal might not be right for me, but it might be right for one of my partners. Would you be, I'm going to come by and we're going to come all look at it. And so I do think that having some of those, like some of that ready, like to know, looking at your numbers and knowing what type of deals this could be, walking into it, and then knowing how to address that with the seller. But I'll be honest, there's a lot of sellers who figure it out and don't care, which I know people would be shocked at. There are some, I'll say this, the one thing that I want everyone to understand is you cannot hide an assignment from a buyer. They're paying your assignment fee. And that sometimes naive wholesalers are like, well, I don't want the assignment fee on the buyer side. I don't want them to see it. And I'm like, well, it's got to go somewhere. So if it's not on the buyer's side, then we're not paying it. So buyers will always know that the deal is being assigned. So make sure that if you think that that's something you're getting away with a buyer, you're not gonna.
What I've seen is when it's a strictly cash purchase, like if the buyer's buying completely cash, that's their money, not a private money loan or something like that. They can do a blind hood, and
Yeah,
the buyer might not see the assignment.
So the assignment fee either has to go on the seller side or the buyer side. On novations, it's on seller, and on wholesaling, it's on buyer.
Right.
And even we call them split settlements, like, but even no matter what, if you have a wholesale deal, your buyer is going to see the assignment fee because it's a buyer fee that the buyer's agreeing to pay for.
You're selling the contract, not the property.
Which also the conversation should be, hey, Mr. Buyer, why are you upset? You agreed to buy this property at $120,000. That's what you're buying this property at, $120,000. You thought it was a good deal, regardless of what I was making. This is still what we're making. And it's very rare that a buyer gets frustrated or doesn't know what's happening. But I definitely, when it does happen, I do think it's sending those investors back to some good coaches to say, this might have been your first deal, but like, hey, you can't pretend you're the seller. You can't misconstrue any information like that.
All right. So how do we get in contact with Easy, both REI closings and title?
Yeah. So easy REI closings, and I know you got a link that you can throw down here when you post this. But yeah, easyreiclosings.com. You can find me online at David Olds REI. We do a lot of stuff on Instagram, and
Yeah, so the easiest way to find title and escrow would be orders at easytitleandescrow.com. We also have a website that you can go and submit any questions to. I would bypass it and just send the email to orders after you see the nice website. But yeah, email us. Right now, we are exclusive, though, for David's clients. So if you are interested in our incredible title services, you're going to have to talk to this man first. So we can definitely help. We love talking to clients and kind of seeing what they have, but that is the benefit of our title of being one of his clients, is you get an exclusive title company just for you.
yeah, and that was because that was very important. Everything, and I know you want to wrap us up, and I need to jump off too. But one of the most important things for us, from the very beginning with Heather and I when we started Easy, is how do we compress time and get you paid faster, right? And that's how we came about. Can we open a title company? Are we smart enough to open a title company? Well, clearly we weren't. We needed Megan to come in and help. But yeah, we wanted to make sure that, as we built out this title company across all these states, that they were there primarily for our clients and make sure that our clients' deals were getting over the line first. And yeah, and we may add into something later down the road. But right now, we're just closing deals for our clients.
Yeah, with that sort of volume, I mean, you did 3,600 closings last year. That's
It's
enough
a
to
lot.
keep somebody busy, right? So,
Yeah.
And 3,600 files. Of course, not all of them closed. Some bled into this year, but it's still a lot of files.
Yeah.
It's a ton of deals.
well, guys, I appreciate you for being here today at such a short notice. It's always a
Yeah.
pleasure to talk to you, David, and it is an amazing opportunity that I got to get to know you a little bit, Megan. So I'm happy that you guys are working together and you're growing from not only a title coordination company, but now a title company itself. So
Yeah.
um, it's incredible how somebody that was wholesaling just a few years ago only got into grow into another completely different business. Um, so congratulations on your success to both of you. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.